Okay, fair enough.
Morning, everyone, and probably what will be the last Connect and Share of 2020. So welcome, everyone, and Mase Warami, which is Darug language for welcome and hello. So this is Outdoors New South Wales ACT on Laurie Mode, and we are here to connect people to nature to lead healthier, more fulfilled lives, as I say, every week. And this is number 33 of the sessions that we've been running this year. To connect the sector, share ideas, share information and share knowledge. So we've got some great things up for you today, particularly a bit of a week in review snapshot, which I alluded to last week. There was lots of grants going on. That continued this week with deadlines actually today. And I'm happy to say that we got that done yesterday, and there's another 2 that need to be done later on today. But hey, you've got to be in these things, and we've got to get these programs happening for the benefit of our communities and for our businesses as well. So look forward, fingers crossed, that we get some of these over the lines, because they will be amazing projects that we can run. Camp pricing report, it is complete. It is also approved by the board. We had a board meeting this week, so that is now ready for distribution to all those that took part. I will reach out to each one of you today and set up a time to take you through that report. And we'll probably do that on Zoom next week and just give you a bit of a heads up on some of the content in there. And hopefully you'll see it as a resource that you can use to look at your own structure in pricing and help guide some of the decisions you need to make in that area. Nature Play Forum, my goodness, we had a fabulous session last night. Sam Crosby from Centennial Parklands, if you may remember, she came to a Connect and Share some weeks ago telling everyone about her strategy and what she was wanting to do. And so her and I hosted a session yesterday. We had 100 registrations. So it was an amazing opportunity to have really open discussions around nature play in New South Wales. As people know, we don't have a structured program in New South Wales, unlike ACT, Queensland, Victoria, etc. So it was a really great conversation. We broke up into meeting rooms and really workshopped some of the key things that we need to look at to progress the strategy for nature play. So the recording is on our YouTube channel. If you want to catch that up, please do so. It was an hour and a half session. So if you've got an hour and a half to spare, jump onto our YouTube and you can certainly review that session. As I say, great conversation and great engagement. The other thing that came out this week, which Outdoors New South Wales and ACT was involved in, was the Child Safe Code of Conduct, and it was a guide that the Office of Children's Guardian was putting out for the industry and for everyone in the state. So we were privileged to be asked to provide feedback to that draft code guide, and we did so. And now the final product is out. So I'll throw that Code of Conduct guide into the chat for you, and you can download it from the chat feature. But it's a really great tool for anyone that has some engagement with children in their business or their activity, and can guide you through some of the things to include in your own code of conduct. The next big thing that happened this week was the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman released the insurance inquiry report. So again, if you remember some months ago now, we had the Small Business Commissioner's Office come to us and tell us about this report. Most of you, I'm sure, jumped online and completed the survey that they put out, encouraging people to tell them what their circumstances were in the area of insurance. The report has been released, and that was as of yesterday. So some of the findings you can see on your screen, inconsistent definitions of small business right across the sector. The self-regulation they see has actually failed industry, lack of availability of public liability and professional indemnity insurance, lack of availability of natural disaster insurance, refusal on basis of industry. I think a lot of you have spoken to that. Or, refusal on basis of industry, which I've just mentioned. Insurance products are difficult to navigate. Claims decisions are not always made promptly. Notification periods of renewal terms are too short. and InsurTech has failed to gain broad-based industry traction. So the findings then followed up with a lot of recommendations. So again, I'll throw that report into the chat for you so you can download it straight from the chat, but a very interesting read, and one that has a lot of recommendations. So it will be really interesting to see where this goes next, and I hope it does get some traction within the government to put some pressure in some of the areas to help our sector in particular. So that was pretty much what happened at the week in review. The next thing I want to throw out there is I touched on this a couple of times, but it's starting to formulate quite nicely, which is our Outdoor Business Masterclass. It'll take place on the 29th of March in 2021, which is the Monday of the Easter week. So hopefully people are starting to wrap up their term by that stage. It is a full day event, and it includes topics like cultural integration in your activities, understanding cultural sensitivities, and integrating your Aboriginal content seamlessly into your offering. The AAAS and best practice and looking at the good practice guides, marketing your product and your activity in the best way you possibly can, and essential skills in our businesses. So those 4 topics are really the key features of that masterclass, and we do have a maximum number of people that can participate in that. So I urge you, if you are interested in that, to please let us know. It is no cost to affiliate members. So I think that's a great deal, and get in quick, because those 30 positions will sell out pretty quickly. So that's enough from me, and I'm going to hand over to the beautiful Nimun, who is coming to you from Mongolia. Is that right?
Hello. Yes.
Yep, fabulous. And Nimun's going to take you through What3Words, which, if you haven't heard of this, I'm sure you're going to be absolutely surprised about what it can provide our sector and everyone in any type of location. So over to you, Nimun. I'll let you share away.
Thank you. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not as yet. Ah, here we go. It's coming up now.
Cool. So I will just start. So to introduce What3Words, we are a UK-based company, started back in 2013, now operating globally. So what we do is we are an addressing solution company. So What3Words solves the problems of poor addressing systems. For example, if you're out hiking, or if you're by the beach, or farming sites, or just driving along the road, there are times that's difficult to describe the exact location of to provide to emergency services, or when you're meeting with a friend, or just remembering back to get back to navigate back to the exact location. So there are times that are difficult to describe the exact location. So I can walk you through how we are solving that issue. So here, there's College Farm. As you can see, the pin is dropped on only one building, but there's also another building that is attached to the name of College Farm. So what we have done is we have enabled each building and each building entrances to have an addressing solution. For example, if there is a stadium, it has several different entrances, and it's hard to describe each entrances with just one name or one addressing traditional addresses. So what we have done is each of the gates of the stadium is named with the 3 words. So what that means is, if you're saying, hey, let's meet me at gate A, it may take you longer to describe where the gate A is and where you're standing, versus if you just say the 3-word address, then it might be easier for the other person to find you and then meet you at the specific location. Another use case that a lot of companies use is at the construction site. So for example, in Mongolia, it takes a while to update the traditional addressing system if there is a new building is up. So What3Words is, because What3Words is already assigned and it's never changing addressing solution, often construction companies and companies who work with the construction company to deliver the materials, they can use the What3Words address to drop off the material and the site workers to get around easily, even if there is no traditional addresses assigned yet. Another one is same street addresses or street names. So for example, there is a Queen Street, as you probably have came across this. Queen Street is, there's several Queen Street within very close areas. So what you have to do as a user is to scroll down of the list to find the exact place or location that you want to navigate to. There is a system that is already out there, which is GPS coordinates. You can use GPS coordinates, and we do use GPS coordinates daily right now, but we never say or remember the 16-digit numbers. So this is just not human friendly. This is much for device to device communication rather than human to human or human to device communication. So just gonna play this. It's gonna show you how we have divided the entire world into 3 meter by 3 meter square, and each square has the 3-word address pre-assigned. What's happening in the back end is that the 3-word address is converting the GPS coordinate into 3 simple words so that it's easier for us to describe that GPS coordinate without remembering the numbers. This is what I meant earlier, just for your easier visualization. Each of these entrance points or drop-off points has its unique 3-word address. So if you need to drop off someone at the stadium and there's a specific location you would do that, you can describe that with the 3-word address rather than just saying drop-off points or the gates. If I were to meet with someone, I could say, hey, let's meet at Investbridge Spicy, rather than describing I'm in the north or south side of the stadium. Where are you? What do you see? You know, those hassles can be removed with What3Words. Another one is by the beach side. Obviously, beach has a name, but don't have an address. So what you could do is you can just describe, hey, I'm standing right here. Where are you? Let's meet here. So it's the same idea. Another industry or sector that we work closely with emergency services. So if there is any roadside, if you need any roadside assistance, or if you are in an emergency situation, you can just describe your precise location in just 3 words. So for example, if you already have the application, then you can just read out the current location on your application to the emergency services. Or if you are already using Emergency Plus app, that also enables you to give the 3-word address because we are integrated and working with the Emergency Plus app. So this is what I meant by converting the GPS coordinate into 3 words. So behind gazed across like, the GPS coordinate is 25 degrees, 9 minutes, 40, and so on. Wouldn't be able to repeat after that, and I wouldn't be able to use this on a daily basis. And a lot of the questions that I get is, so what do you do with the similar sounding word? It's likely that you're gonna make mistakes, right? So what our team at the very beginning of this technology has done is basically shuffling the similar sounding words very far from each other. So if I were to use the What3Words app in Australia, and then I meant to say table chair lamp, but I typed in table chair lamps, then the our auto suggestion technology would give you, okay, I think you meant this. So it gives you the correct 3-word address based on your GPS coordinates or GPS of your device. So it's less likely that you're going to be navigating to table chair lamps, which is based in New York. So auto suggest function is available in our application or with our API. So if you were to integrate What3Words into your own technology, then this feature is available. Otherwise, if you go and then type into What3Words application, it gives you a 3 suggestion. So based on your device's location, it's gonna give you the nearest 3-word address that you meant to type. Also, What3Words is available in 46 languages. What it means is that we have not translated each word. We have actually taken the each combination of words from different dictionaries, so 46 dictionaries. So for example, if I did not speak English well and I needed to travel to an English-speaking country, I could be using the application in Mongolian and then navigate around the country or to my destination without a hassle. And if I were to save that 3-word address that I'm using in Mongolian to an English speaker who is using the application in English, then the 3-word address shows in English for the other person. So that it makes it easier to use for both ends. Another way, so there are 2 different ways to use What3Words. One is by displaying, so providing the 3-word address. Those are the sectors from travel industries. So if Lonely Planet is displaying the 3-word address on their guidebook, then the visitor or the traveler can use the 3-word address that they have seen on the guidebook by putting into navigation system. So for example, if you're owner of a Mercedes-Benz, which have integrated What3Words into their infotainment system, you can speak or type the 3-word address that you saw from Lonely Planet and then just enter. Or you could just, you know, I hope it never happens, but if there is an emergency situation, you can just read out the 3-word address that's on your phone. Or we do have Find Me link. What that does is if the other person does not have an application, then we can send the link and then the receiver clicks on it and then it shows the current location in 3 words. So you can just repeat after that. As you can see, a lot of the partners also include What3Words address on the booking confirmation, just so that the visitors have extra information of their entrance point or meeting points, so that they don't have to go through, answering phones and then trying to describe their locations throughout the day. I mentioned this, so I will just pass, but this is how it looks in the guidebook. The 3-word address is displayed under the URL, so the information of that site. So it's just used as an additional information. This is another example for Airbnb. Airbnb's a host of Airbnb is also using What3Words to describe the location information easily. What3Words is integrated into the infotainment system of Mercedes-Benz. The reason why they have integrated us is to enhance their user experience, because typing the long traditional addresses could be hassle for the driver. So what it has done is you can just speak the 3-word address into the system. So 3 words is probably better than a long street address and then scrolling through trying to find the exact location you are meant to type in. Here's another one. All Australian emergency services now accept What3Words. What that means is our colleague Patty has done all the trainings with the emergency services to use in a situation if the caller provides the three-word address, then they can navigate to the precise location without losing time because time matters in these type of situations. This is just different real life user stories, and mentioned before, Emergency Plus have integrated What3Words. So as you can see, it provides the three-word address along with the latitude, longitude information. And more user stories and our so there are different ways What3Words is used. So for example, in this picture with Chris, you can see the three-word address on a beer. So what they have done is they've named after their beer brand of the location that they manufacture, or is that a right word? Make beer. And then another way to use What3Words is, as you can see, on a sign. So if they're at Wanda Beach, they have provided the three-word address of this specific trail. So if there is any emergency situations, you can just say, hey, I see this sign, this is my location. And this one is great. And one of our Squares member, Square is a community where people can gather and then get the information about What3Words the first. They have shared this picture saying that, oh, see, What3Words is being advertised on this sign with the Emergency Plus sign app. So that was just great to see. And I think that concludes my presentation. Hopefully that was helpful. Feel free to ask me any questions. What I think would be very beneficial for people in Australia and around the world is to really hear about What3Words more and more often, because we're working with these bigger companies and then also emergency services. And now what we need is more people using it. So it actually comes to very useful and handy for both ends. Thank you.
You did very well, Namun. You shouldn't underestimate yourself. You had the perfect word. Manufacture was exactly right. She's worried about her second language.
Thank you.
Well.
Thank you.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Namun? And I'd just like to know, has anyone seen this before or aware of it already? I take that as no.
I heard a story. I think it was a podcast called 99% Invisible in the US, and they were talking about mapping the entire world. And I didn't really pick up on it, but yeah, thank you. That obviously put it back into perspective for me. Yeah, so they were talking about this exact process of mapping the entire world and how it can give you a location in places that would otherwise be almost indescribable other than GPS.
Mm.
I'm glad it was useful.
Great. There was actually an incident, which is why I reached out to these guys. Oh, when did I talk to Patrick Namon? It probably was about June or July, when there was a rescue in Tasmania, and someone there knew it and they used it, and they actually located them, which they said if they had not have used that, it would have been very, very risky in getting to them before it was too late. So yeah, it's being used quite widely now, and as you say, I think we've got to try to get everyone across it so everyone can use it and make it a tool that's in their toolbox for risk. Any other questions? You're up.
Sorry, just to add on to that, if you want to join us in spreading the word, we do have a community toolkit. So we have just put together a material that you can just share on your social media or your websites or to your community. So I can share that with you after the call through email.
Wonderful. Namon, if you want to share that with me, I've got a newsletter going out today, so I'll put that into today's newsletter.
Okay, Sounds
Laurie,
good.
I just have one little question. Does it cost anything to use it? I don't know if I missed that, but is there a cost in it at all involved?
No, so if you were to integrate What3Words into existing systems, so for example, Mercedes-Benz, those are the companies that do pay for What3Words for the purpose of enhancing their technology and the user experience. Obviously, we have to make money out of it because we're a business, but for just general public. So if you were to use What3Words application, as some of you have already downloaded What3Words, it's free. So it's free of use for emergency services and general public. But if there is a company who would like to use What3Words, there could be a cost associated. How we differentiate that is if you were to make the, so there is one for converting the GPS coordinate into 3-word address. And then there's another way of converting the 3-word address into GPS coordinates. So displaying on a map of their own choosing. So if the user needs to navigate using the converted GPS coordinates, then they could be a cost associated with it. So if you make like 1,000 call, and after that there is cost associated, but up to 1,000 call it's free. So we have a tier pricing.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Namon, you've got Emergency Plus uses it as well. So that's often an app that a lot of people use. And the other one we discussed the other day was maps.me, I think it was.
I haven't personally used the maps.me with What3Words yet, so my knowledge is very limited on that. But NavMe uses What3Words, and it works offline, and it is free for you to use. During summer, I've traveled with my family throughout Mongolia. Mongolia is a huge country. I'm not sure if you're aware, but because I studied abroad for so long, I haven't had the chance to travel around Mongolia. So what I have done is use NavMe and then also What3Words offline. So in What3Words, so if you were to use What3Words in an offline setting, there's a compass mode. So you can just use the 3-word address in a compass mode. Or if you want to use the NavMe application, that's also available. So it really depends on your preference.
Okay, and I think we discussed the other day, Google Maps hasn't got it integrated as yet, but you're working on that.
We're working on that. Also Apple Maps, those are bigger sharks. But what we have done, or what our fan of What3Words has done, is created an extension for Google Maps. So what you can do is you can search, add extensions, and then you can search What3Words and then just add it onto your Google Maps or your Chrome, and then you can use the 3-word address with Google Maps.
Okay, gotcha.
But yes.
Okay, good. And yeah, so Mark's just said he's downloaded maps.me and tested it and does work. So that's great.
Right. Yeah.
Use that one. Okay. Awesome.
Laurie,
Go, Dave.
Laurie, hi. Good morning. I've got a question. Is there a pricing for educational organisations? Because I could see there could be a great usage of this for geocaching replacement systems, or using it for geocaching where you'd give students a predefined location using 3 words.
Sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Is it for the purpose of using it with the or GIS softwares, or is it just for the purpose of providing the 3-word address?
Possibly both. I think I understand what you're doing, but giving students specific locations to go and find using their own devices that you've predefined as, go to this location and then go to this location and go to this location. I was recently on an urban adventure with Year 8 students, 14-year-olds, and this would have been an ideal tool for them to find things in the inner city of Sydney.
I see.
It's a bit of a mind.
Yeah, as in the purpose of if you are already providing the 3-word address of a location, and that means you're converting the GPS coordinate into 3 words, which is free. So there's no cost associated.
Okay, so your company hasn't already provided the 3-word location for, say, my house. I would have to put that into the system explicitly by traveling there, or by actually just using it through the app.
Your house
Yes,
would have.
so
Already done.
already
your
has
house,
the 3-word address.
Okay.
Yeah, and it'll have several because it's every 3 meter square.
Yeah.
Right.
You just have to pick the one that's your favorite description of those squares, I think, David.
So where I am right now, David, is deflected, gleams, impeccable.
Okay.
That's
So
your
let's
new
say,
name, Laurie.
David, if you were to, if you want to describe a location, let's say there are trees, right, or poles, let's say, and you would like to save save the 3-word address of each pole, you could do that by visiting the site, just like doing a site survey, and then just save the location with the 3 words. Or if you are sure that the satellite image is up to date and that you know that these poles are located there, you can use the application and then just pick the 3-word address without visiting. But we encourage people to, let's say, if you were to give the 3-word address of your entrance of your house for delivery companies to find the exact location to drop off your package, then we suggest people to go outside so that there is no canopy above you covering the GPS signal to get the precise location information.
Okay. All right. But educational pricing for schools, does that exist? If it was is there a cost involved? I'm sort of understanding there is a cost, but there isn't for some stuff. I'm just saying how this will be usable for schools with limited budgets and outdoor departments.
We do, so for educational, I would have to check. I can always inform Lori about this, and then maybe Lori can share the information with you. But what I know for sure is that we are free for emergency services and government entities. So it would depend. But if there is other businesses, for example, so Lonely Planet is a business, right? And then Mercedes-Benz is a business, but how they are using what 3 words is different. Lonely Planet is just displaying the 3-word address that is already given to you. They just need to convert and find the 3-word address of that specific location and then just include it on their guidebook. But Mercedes-Benz is using what 3 words so that the user enters the 3-word address of a destination, and then what's doing behind the infotainment system is converting the given 3-word address into GPS coordinates and then enabling the navigation. So it would depend on how you're using. So we're not charging all businesses. It depends on if you're converting to GPS coordinates or to 3-word address and how many calls you're making or how many conversions you are making.
Yeah, it's like if you're integrating it into something else, I suppose is more the definition of the price structure versus a free.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that
exactly.
you go ahead and incorporate it into Find This because it's already in some of the apps that they're using.
David, one of the things that I've been playing with Maps.me this week, and there's one more test I've got to do, but Maps.me is an application that allows you to download free maps onto your phone, so you've got an offline service, so you don't need a connectivity to the mobile network. And David Gregory told me about this earlier in the week, and so what I've been able to do is you use the What3Words app to find the 3-word address. Then you can ask it to navigate via Maps.me. So Maps.me opens up and navigates to that route. So the one thing I want to do in the next week is there's a couple of places I know I don't have mobile connection, and I'm going to take that whole set of Australian maps that I've got, and it was something like about 300 megabytes download to the phone, but then I want to go to a black spot and try it there, and there's no reason from what I've done in the last couple of weeks to say that it won't. So So I don't think for your services, the way you're describing it, whether you need, I don't think there's anything that you're going to need extra than just change the tools that you use in the field now.
Mm.
Mhm.
Is that right, now?
Yep.
And I think it's quite interesting when you search your different locations, what comes up. I just searched my parents' house, and seriously, this is a fluke. Dated seniors preservation for my parents' house. I can't wait to tell them that one. Anyway, so yeah, download it and have a play. But thank you so much again for joining us this morning, Namun, and really, yeah, I think it'll be something that we can use certainly in our sector quite broadly. But unless anyone's got any other questions, I'm happy to let you depart and get on with your day, because I know it's 7 a.m. or something ridiculous at your place.
It is. Well, thank you for having me. It was great speaking about What3Words. It's always exciting. So hopefully you guys can get a great use out of it. So we'll share the materials with Lori, and hopefully Lori can spread or share it with you guys. So
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Great. What do people think? User friendly? Yeah.
I don't think the parents are going to be impressed.
We can track them down.
Just done it.
Have you?
Yeah, that's right.
That's awesome. Fabulous. Guys, yeah, this is just a casual end to our last session of the year. I thought everyone's going to be busy trying to get Christmas shopping or at the end of year stuff done on the 18th of December. So I thought this could be probably our last one for the year, and we'll rejoin probably I think it's the 22nd of January or something like that. Will be our last. So yeah, if anyone wants to just mention what they're up to, or anything that they've noticed in the last week or couple of weeks, feel free to have a chat. Who's going to speak first?
I can have a go. As I just sort of mentioned, I was in New South Wales and Sydney last week working for Land's Edge. I'll reference them directly because they're fairly big and very well organised outdoor company. Very different experience as a Queensland facilitator coming to New South Wales at the moment in terms of, and it's something that maybe we need to address moving forward, at least within the industry. The COVID safe plans are different and are significantly different about how you operate as a freelancer in Queensland as opposed to New South Wales. Like, yeah, the SOPs obviously are, again, within each organisation are slightly varied based upon the state's return to play or COVID safe plan. But having the experience of, I have to wear a mask as a Queenslander on public transport with a bunch of students, that was brand new to me. But also if I'm within the 1.5 metres, having to do a medical issue for a student or a teacher, their SOP again was you must wear a mask. And because you're not in the field of play, because they don't use that metaphor and they don't use that COVID safe plan. And I'm just wondering if there's any viewpoint at a high national level at OCA about standardizing these plans now that we appear, touch wood, to have everything under control as far as COVID, so that we're able to have a workforce that is able to be, similar to a climbing qualification or driving a four-wheel drive. It's the same everywhere. It's just nuanced for the particular state. Or are we going to continue to do these state-by-state differences?
I have some thoughts. Yeah.
Go for it, Dave.
I believe in Victoria, we're on the last step or the final step. We're not at COVID normal. I don't believe any state or is on COVID normal. I have a suspicion that what you're talking about could happen when Australia goes to COVID normal which will be when we get a medical solution, or at least part solution. And and we have a similar situation across. I suspect that in the interim, each state will remain different. But perhaps, Laurie, the Outdoor Council could come up with a little simple chart of what the key differences between the states are. You do this in, or the things that will affect an outdoor leader, that they might have to think about. Obviously, when you join an organisation, you'll get your briefings and everything, but it might be, if you go to New South Wales and Victoria, take a mask, and this is where you'll need to wear it. It might only be half a dozen points for each, but I don't think there'll be any COVID normal across the country until we get a medical solution.
It's a good point, Dave. Sorry, go on, Dave.
It's really interesting though. Like, why did the states diverge so far away from? In Queensland, it makes sense. You're in the field of play, like you're at a football ground, refereeing or playing, so you can be engaged as you would normally because that's the considered aspect of how the game needs to be played. For us outdoor educators, we need to be able to be close to our students and our teachers in certain circumstances, obviously, in an appropriate way. Even as far as in Sydney, you can't get on a bus with more than 25 people. So I had myself, a teacher, and 15 students, and we got onto a bus. We were doing an urban adventure, and I wasn't aware of this specific aspect of the bus because I'm at the back of the group counting kids as they get on. And halfway through, the bus driver said, "Stop, you can't put any more people on this bus," because they already had 5 people on the bus or whatever it was. And I said to the driver very directly, "Well, either we all get off or we all get on, but I'm not splitting the group because I'm not losing 14-year-olds in a city, Sydney." And it was, and again, it was my fault for not understanding how the public transport was operating in Sydney. But it was another aspect that was different because in Queensland, there's no limit. You can put as many people on a bus as you want. So there's significant differences, and it's interesting in the governments. Across the country, even the same, out different. I don't see it's going to be a big issue because not many people fly interstate week in, week out to do work. But we are a mobile workforce, and we are very much casualised, as has been highlighted by the pandemic, I guess. And potentially, there might be more working interstate for people who are of high needs and high skills because people have left the industry, as Laurie and Dom are very much aware of, and the amount of jobs that are currently floating.
Yeah, David.
Dave.
Sorry, go on, Liz. You're right.
I was just going to say, Dave, I think that's going to vary not just between states, but between providers. And it would be like any other SOPs they need to do because they're also writing their SOPs based on their clientele and their clientele's needs and where they're operating. So you could write something for New South Wales that would be relevant to the city, but when you come out here to the Southern Highlands, it would be a different set of SOPs they've got in place. So I think the big thing there would be the reminder to the casuals to check in with their employer as to what the COVID safe plan is so that they're prepared for it when they get there. And the employer should be able to send a COVID safe strategy to them prior to getting there.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say, Liz. David, unfortunately in New South Wales, we don't actually have guidelines. It's literally left up to the organisations to do what they believe is going to lessen the risk. There is framework, which I call the COVID safe plans that they're provided, which people can look at, but really there's no regulation here. It's literally up to every business on how they minimise the risk the best way possible. So the biggest job that I've been doing is liaising with every organisation going, okay, who's your clientele? Where are you going? Okay, here's all the risks. This is what you should consider. So every single COVID plan I've read, all different. So it's been interesting. And that, to your point, every state's managed this differently. That's how New South Wales has done it, and ACT as well.
And then, Laurie, the one difficulty we just had over 2 weeks running a tour is you do not want to have doctors as guests because they're the worst offenders.
Yeah, tell everyone what the doctor said to you.
Oh God, which comment did I give you?
The one where he said, "Oh, don't worry about all that stuff. It's fine."
Yeah, well, that's right. They're basically not wanting to wear masks, or we have it that if you're in a minibus and can't get more than 1.5 meters apart, everyone must wear masks, and that they didn't want to do that. So, we haven't had any cases in New South Wales. Why are you doing this? And they don't understand, even though they have their own businesses, that you have a COVID safe plan that you have to follow. So it was very difficult, wasn't it, Denise? So
no doctors
anyway.
allowed.
No doctors allowed. Yeah, and then you add a lawyer into it,
Oh gosh.
and you're really pushing a barrow uphill. So, anyway, that was our fun story.
Cool. There's a comment here from Rob, which is a really great question. Rob, did you want to ask it, or did you want me to ask it for you? I don't know if you're on speaker today.
No, that's fine. You just read it out as it is. If there's any questions, I can add to it.
Yeah, no worries. He's wanting to know what everyone's feeling is about 2021. Is there a general confidence in investing at this time in outdoor recreation and education?
My feeling is that from a tourism and outdoor education point of view, we're going to grow. A lot more people are going out, but I think we need to be watching what happens with inbound travellers and opening up of tourism and other types of things. Yep. So once we sort of start to see that, that's a bit of an oh dear point, and we need to have some plans in place. Yeah. In the medium term, I also think once international travel is allowed in some sort of a new COVID way, I think a lot of people that are travelling around Australia and schools that are using Australia will try and travel overseas then. So there might be a couple of blips we need to plan for further ahead. Yeah. And I think the two are people coming in and people allowed out, in my opinion. Yeah, the allowed out might be a little bit longer than the allowed in. Yeah.
What do people think about the Department of Education sort of attitudes? Are we pretty confident that what we're seeing now is going to continue in 2021, which is obviously everyone's back to normal camp and program?
I think there's a golden opportunity for outdoor ed, but also for the Department of Education, but right across the outdoor sector, to be marketing the purpose of our programs as giving people the mental health and the resilience that we always have done, but right now, as a way of marketing any program that anyone's doing, because everyone's aware that people need help right now. It's been a ridiculously stressful year for everyone across society, from the people most affected and, probably the most vulnerable people in our society, right through to, the high end of town. They're the people who've actually still got money, and they're happy to hand it over if it means they're going to be healthier coming up. So I think there's actually a lot of business opportunities out there that we could all be working on. And also within the education department and the health department, at least I know here in Queensland, they're recognising that people need help right now. And one of the ways is our whole sector can get behind that. So I think that's a way of making sure that school camps particularly continue, but also all the other awesome things that are going on out there for all the different clients. So I think there's a real strong opportunity for our whole sector.
Completely agree with you, Dom. I think hearing the National Office of Duke of Ed the other day, for me, was reassuring. They are predicting huge growth, like massive growth, close to 200% in 5 years. So that says a lot about the future of what we're trying to achieve. And none of us have actually seen the ABS data yet, but from what I've seen to date, the mental health issues are horrific. So you're right, we do have an opportunity if we sing from the same song sheet and have the same messages out there. We just need to combine our voice to get that cut through, I think.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think there's tons of opportunity, but it's just being able to be adaptable to changing conditions, and to make sure you've got all sorts of different irons in the fire to ensure that everything's covered. And all I'm hearing is so much eagerness to get out there, but just still that kind of hesitation to make sure it's going to be able to go ahead.
So they're
Yeah, but
worried.
that also adds cost. I mean, to have things on standby or to spread yourself quite thin. My supplementary question was going to be, so how much, because I'm not directly yet involved in outdoor education, but so how much, what percentage has COVID procedures, safety regulations, extra cleaning, all that palaver, how much has that added to the operational costs or the price of the ticket? And that just goes to what you just said, is that we have to, you have to have more irons in the fire. That means having more different trained staff, or more pieces of equipment on standby. That's extra cost. Can you load that on a business, or and back to the question is, what percentage has this COVID thing added to a $1,000 course or a $150 course? Is it 10%, 20%, 30%?
Can I answer that from our experience for the last 2 weeks? It added us, I'd guess, probably another 2 hours of work a day to what we were doing. That's including cleaning down radios, cleaning down touch points in vehicles, all the getting things clean. But there has been an advantage in that to accommodate that, we changed what we did each day, and we tried to get in a couple of hours earlier once we realized that was happening. And I think that we will probably take that further on once COVID's back. We will cut our days shorter, because when we're working on a 2-week tour, it's rather to be able to get to dinner on time while instead of rushing. It's been a positive. So we see a positive coming out of it. On the other side of things too, what we did is, coming back from the tour, we've added a 5% COVID levy to all of our tour prices. And we'll take that off. And we had a group who inquired, and we told them that we were adding that price, and we were told not to worry, that was all good. So I think that's different ways of approaching it.
That's a really good idea.
You know what that does too, Mark? You probably have thought this through, but that says to them, we're taking this thing seriously. We're going to charge you a little bit more, but you can be reassured we're taking it seriously. We're investing in our business, and we're covering those extra costs. We're not just going to cut corners. So yeah, well done on that. I think that's a really interesting development for operators, for businesses.
Yeah, well, we did also have, as I didn't give positive comments about doctors, we did have a cardiologist on our tour who did commend us on COVID procedures. So so that was really good. Yeah, but the other ones, nah. Okay.
I was going to ask, Mark, was your extra 2 hours a day, was that just an hour and a half arguing with doctors? It's really only half an hour a day?
No, that was the solicitor, Dom. I don't, yeah. He disagrees with all this thing, and that woman in Queensland, she's mad with what his comment was. And he was talking about the Premier, obviously, or the health officer.
He's talking about your leader, Dom.
To do with the science and what was behind it. It was just, I don't like her. And therefore it was mad. Because we were explaining we had to do, our COVID safe plan had to work across borders. And we were using the Queensland-based industry plans as a template. And that provoked that comment. Yeah. And you just kind of go.
If he's talking about our chief health officer up here, them's fighting words, because
they are.
She's basically going to get nominated for sainthood and any other award she can get. They're talking about her as the next governor. Yeah, pretty much. That was the smartest thing anyone said all year.
And David Chitty would probably say that Dan Andrews will be for sainthood in Victoria as well. I don't know. Am I putting words
Well,
in your mouth?
I would if he wasn't Labor Party, but I reckon he did a damn good job anyway. Yeah. Okay. I'd like to comment on the education thing. I do think that both in New South Wales and all states, we need to be reinforcing to the education department bureaucrats how well we're planning for change and stuff in our industry, because the past tells us that that the education department bureaucrats are very risk adverse, and the first thing they'll do is shut us down if they get an opportunity, and particularly if we haven't been selling ourselves to them. So I think we do need to sell ourselves as a safe sector, as a COVID safe, particularly as a COVID safe sector, because there will be incidents next year, probably, when borders open up, and we need to be proactive in that area. That's just my thought.
I think the other thing predicting for next year, having been in a conversation with the sport and recreation industry reference group this week, is that as industry builds back to the numbers that they had, bearing in mind that typically around the country first term is hectic, there are a lot of people looking for staff, and we probably need some way to have a good metric about what real loss we've had, and who we haven't gained back, because I think that allows us to meet the needs of the regrowth. Let's call it regrowth, because we need to get back to where we were before we grow again. And we need to understand what percentage of our industry workers we've lost, because we need to plan. There's a long-term plan to get them back into place, but how can we attract them back in? So how can, and I was talking to somebody last week, and they said that they'd had a really good program. Some staff that were thinking of jumping ship in 2021 were reignited by the capacity to change a child's life, and had changed their decisions. So part of it's about a real thought about how we reignite those people who are either on borderline leaving or have left, and how do we get them back in, and how do we let them know that we really need them to continue to do the really important stuff. So yes, we need the message to education. We need the message to say what we do is really beneficial for our community health, but we also need, hey guys, remember what you have been doing for X number of years has been really good to community health. We need you. What's it going to take to get you back?
It's a really good point. And I think anecdotally, if I look at the Facebook page that we set up for the jobs, work in the outdoors, I'd have to say it'd be pretty much 50-50 new jobs created versus fulfilling positions left. I've been totally inspired by how many people are going, oh, we need extra staff now in this area, or we're going to do a new program and we need staff for that. Pimble's Ladies College is a great probably example. They just took on Vision Valley, so they're recruiting all these new positions. Yeah, very good point in the fact that we're probably got to get back to where we were still. And you can see a lot of that job application area, just trying to fulfill those jobs.
I'm definitely concerned, Liz, in the same way in regards to, I think, whilst there is a glut of work, it's at a level one entry level. I need a group leader, I need a GL, I need a facilitator, whatever your terminology is. But there's no accountability with, especially with the government's looming IR changes that might allow returning job seekers or people in the industry might be forced to actually come in at a lower level than what they experienced previously under the guise of, oh, well, it's a pandemic and we expect you to come back and work for less money or the same amount of money. I think to have people work in industry long term, such as myself, it's one of those things of you've got to take the money and the conditions of your employment off the table, and there's got to be no consideration that they have to worry about that they'll be paid the correct wage, valuing that person's experience and qualifications. And whatever it is that you're trying to value, but actually encourage people to come and stay within the industry who have been there for a while by the values that are driven by that drive our industry. So things like, you know, changing a young person's life has more attraction to me as a potential full-time employee than it is, you know, I'm going to pay you $10 more than that organization because that's how I get you on the hook. It shouldn't be about that. And we definitely, the money factor becomes something that does focus a lot of people, because it's like, well, I'll work for this person this week because I get more money for them, or I get a better meal deal when I'm at their site than if I go to that site and they won't give me a meal. And that happens in Queensland still. We have a really good structure here, and we have a higher daily rate than I think most of Victoria and New South Wales. Generally, they're coming up to the par that Andrew at Coefficient has set for casuals here in the southeast, but it's still not there. And across the industry, we need to be better at articulating that we should be worth more. Whether you're a teacher qualified or you're a 25-year veteran, you should be getting paid more, and it shouldn't be something you have to worry about, because it should be about driving the values of what you're trying to deliver to the client that you're working for that day.
Yeah, and on that, I also think clients need to pay more for the services as well. You know, we need to be charging more for what we're offering, because the margins are pretty slim. I reckon I've done my first 2 programs this year that have been postponed twice. I'm probably, you know, 1,000% down, even though I've got the income from 2 programs, but just all the effort that's gone into developing, postponing, re-engaging, continuing on. It's just, you certainly don't do it for the money, but the money's still got to be there to make it worthwhile in the long term. So yeah, charging the clients more is,
you've still got to pay rent. You still got to put phone, have a phone to be in the field. You've still got to have a valid first aid kit. That's $100 a semester if you're going through a regular field role. Yeah. And in lots of cases, you don't get that money back. So you've got to, all those supplies back. So you've got to be able to live the lifestyle, not just exist on like couch surfing or living in a van or whatever you're trying to do, because it's an alternative lifestyle. It shouldn't be seen as alternative. It should be seen as, this is what we do. This is who we are.
Dave, what you've said has come up very strongly in this Outdoor Leader program that we put out to the marketplace for that engagement. And it kept coming back, if you can help us in this area, we've signed up, sort of thing. Not saying we're going down that path just yet. We've got a lot of work to do in this space, but the feedback has been amazing. And just on your IR, that's a really good point. Something I didn't do in the week in review, but I don't know if anyone's seen it, but this new casual definition is huge for our sector and others. So if you want any content on that, I can flick you through the link. Actually, I'll put it in the chat. But look, it's after 11, guys. So look, I'm happy to keep going if anyone wants to stick around and have more of a chat. But I'm conscious that you've all got other stuff that you want to get to today and in the build up to Christmas. So we might sort of stop recording and then we can have a casual conversation if you want to. But have a great Christmas, everyone. Look forward to 2021 and what it has to bring. And I'm sure it's going to be a lot better than 2020. So thank you, everyone. And thanks for being part of our Connect and Shares this year. The Christmas gift from us to you will be a link to every single one telling you what they're all about in the next newsletter. So you can quickly reference what you want to look back on in 2020 with these Connect and Shares. So without further ado, Merry Christmas.